After escaping Elbe and reclaiming Paris, Napoleon launched a swift offensive into Belgium, crossing at Thuin near Charleroi. Marshal Ney was commanding the left wing to seize Quatre Bras, Marshal Grouchy with the right wing, and Napoleon himself commanding the reserve. His aim was to separate the Anglo-Dutch and Prussian forces and defeat them individually. On the 16th of June, while Marshal Ney was attacking Quatre Bras, Napoleon advanced towards Ligny, clashing with Blücher. Field Marshal Blücher deployed his Prussian army along a broad front. Zieten's First Corps occupied the key defensive villages of Saint-Amand, Bray, and Ligny, forming the main line. Pirchin's Second Corps stood immediately behind as support. Thielmann's Third Corps formed the left wing, guarding the approaches from Gembloux and Namur and covering the army's main lines of retreat. The crucial Fourth Corps under Bülow was still several hours away, and would not arrive in time, a fact that enraged Blücher when confirmed on the night of the 15th to the 16th of June. In total, Blücher had roughly 83,000 men with 224 guns on the field against Napoleon's about 60,000 with 210 guns. His extended front left him vulnerable if attacked before Wellington's promised reinforcements could arrive. In the early hours of the 16th of June, Wellington himself rode from Quatre Bras to the windmill of Bray to consult with Blücher, promising at least one Anglo-Allied corps in support. Napoleon intended to first defeat Blücher, then turn west to join Ney at Quatre Bras and march on Brussels. He deployed Vandam's Third Corps on the left, aimed at Saint-Amand and La Haye. Gérard's Fourth Corps in the centre, tasked with capturing Ligny. Grouchy's cavalry reserve on the right, operating around Boigny and Tongres. Lobau's Sixth Corps and the Imperial Guard were in reserve near Fleurus. Napoleon waited until about 2:30 p.m. to begin his attack. At the signal of 3 cannon shots from the Imperial Guard artillery, the French opened the battle. Vandam's Third Corps advanced first, striking the villages of Saint-Amand and Saint-Amand-la Haye. Leifeld's division quickly overran Saint-Amand, but the Prussians under Steinmetz counterattacked fiercely, retaking the village at heavy cost. Vandam renewed his assault with reinforcements, and by mid-afternoon, Saint-Amand was engulfed in brutal house-to-house fighting, changing hands multiple times. Meanwhile, around 3 p.m., Gérard's Fourth Corps attacked the village of Ligny at the centre. Péchot's division briefly captured the church, but suffered devastating artillery fire from 3 sides. Many houses were set ablaze, filling the village with choking smoke. Again and again the French stormed the streets, only to be driven back by determined Prussian counterattacks. The Prussian second lieutenant Gerhard Andreas von Garolz later gave an eyewitness account of the agonies of the Belgian civilian population, caught unexpectedly in the centre of battle. Ligny stood half on fire, locked in bright flames. On this occasion, we found we were in a house where all windows were destroyed. 2 old people, a man and a woman, showing no emotion, and dazed, sat at the hearth without moving, his elbows on his knees and his head supported by his hands. The vision made us cry. Probably they had seen armed combat and were not surprised. How else could they distance themselves with death so near? We too were familiar with death. We felt compassion for these old people, but they could not be convinced to move from their home. By late afternoon, both Saint-Amand and Ligny had become infernos of close combat. Entire brigades were thrown into the struggle, with generals such as Girard mortally wounded leading their men. Though the French pressed hard, the Prussians fought stubbornly to hold their ground. By late afternoon, the battle had reached a critical stage. Vandam's 3rd Corps and Gérard's 4th Corps were locked in savage fighting at Saint-Amand and Ligny. At about 5 p.m., Blücher decided to strike back. Pertuis' fresh 2nd Corps advanced south of Bray to join Zieten's weary divisions in a counterattack against Saint-Amand and La Haye. The attack went in with determination. Prussian infantry and cavalry reserves poured forward, driving into Vandam's corps, which wavered under pressure. For a moment, French positions at Saint-Amand-le-Hameau and La Haye seemed lost. Prussian artillery roared, and the fighting became desperate hand-to-hand combat. Confusion gripped the French as Vandam mistook d'Erlon's 20,000 men near Wagnolet for enemy reinforcements. Napoleon halted his attack on Ligny, unaware they were his own troops, recalled midway by Ney, leaving d'Erlon absent from both battles. Blücher sought to seize the moment. Gathering his last reserves, he personally led a cavalry charge against the French left. His men broke into Saint-Amand once more, while Thielmann's cavalry tried to drive down the Sombreffe-Fleurus road. For a brief time, the Prussians seemed on the verge of breaking Vandam's corps. The fighting was so savage, as Siborne describes. The fight throughout the whole village of Ligny was now at the hottest. The place was literally crammed with combatants, and its streets and enclosures were choked up with the wounded, the dying, and the dead. Every house that had escaped being set on fire was the scene of a desperate struggle. The troops fought no longer in combined order, but in numerous and irregular groups, separated by houses either in flames or held as little forts, sometimes by the one and sometimes by the other party. And in various instances, when their ammunition failed or when they found themselves suddenly assailed from different sides, the bayonet, and even the butt, supplied them with a ready means of prosecuting the dreadful carnage. The earth now trembled under the tremendous cannonade, and as the flames issuing from the numerous burning houses intermingled with the dense volumes of smoke, shot directly upwards through the light grey mass which rendered the village indistinguishable and seemed continually to thicken. The scene resembled for a time some violent convulsion of nature, and rather than a human conflict, as if the valley had been rent asunder, and Ligny had become the focus of a burning crater.